No, I didn't shoot the short intro with a 360 camera. I could have, but this time I wanted to try something different, recreating some typical 360 camera effects with a mirrorless camera. I love these creative camera tricks, and using traditional cameras allows for higher resolution. Let me guide you behind the scenes and show you these tricks step by step. In this tutorial I'll be using a setup with my GH5 camera and the ZHIYUN Weebill 3E gimbal. I record in 4K 50 fps to give more options during editing, such as slowing down some clips if needed. But first, let's look at some advantages of shooting these effects with this setup. The first advantage is the freedom to change the focal length. While shooting with a 360 camera, you can change it in post by zooming in and out digitally, but you also lose quality and the characteristics of the lens won't change. Talking about quality, even if you shoot in 6K or 8K, this resolution covers the entire 360 space, resulting in lower resolution after reframing. While I think the Insta360 X4's new image processor and 8K resolution is a huge upgrade, in certain cases 4K footage of the GH5 still delivers better results. In my previous videos, I talked a lot about using 360 cameras in indie filmmaking and found that we can integrate them very well into the workflow. However, what we cannot achieve with a 360 camera is getting shots with relatively low depth of field. While using my GH5 with a G-series lens, I can shoot with various apertures, even achieving a low depth of field. So basically these are the main 3 reasons why you might choose a mirrorless camera instead of a 360 camera in certain cases. And adding a gimbal to the setup, we can reproduce many of the cool 360 camera effects. You don't even need to buy a very high-cost gimbal. The Weebill 3E is under $250 and works perfectly for lower budget projects. Let me show you how to recreate these effects. First, let's start with the easiest one. For shooting fly-lapse, I set the gimbal to POV mode, and during shooting I can move the camera using the wheel or the joystick on the handle. This way the camera will turn around while sliding smoothly, like flying over the streets. While shooting with the X4 requires capturing steady footage and adding camera movements in post, with the gimbal you can create this effect in camera without needing to edit on a computer. However, you will lose some flexibility as your effect will be baked into the video. Another cool effect is the horizon flip. All you need to do is switch your gimbal to L mode and shoot a buttery smooth video. Then simply duplicate it in your editing software, flip and crop the upper layer. You can add a little fade to your cropping mask, and that's all. It looks very cool. Or if you take a closer look, you can see that in the ShotLab effect, the upper side of the image is made using the back lens of the 360 camera, pointing backwards. So you can achieve the same result by walking back and forth in the same location and placing the footage recorded in the other direction in the sky. However, while the Insta360 X creates this effect automatically, shooting it with the GH5 and the gimbal will require a bit of editing, offering extra freedom in the editing process. A similar but perhaps less futuristic technique is creating a barrel roll effect. Switch your gimbal to vortex mode, allowing you to rotate the camera with the joystick, or set it to auto rotation and walk with the camera. Like shooting fly-lapse, you can create this effect in camera without any further editing. While with the X4 you can achieve the same result by positioning your virtual camera and adding a virtual camera rotation effect in post-production. If you're shooting alone, for further tricks, put your camera on a tripod and control it with your smartphone. Or a smartphone remote can be very useful in other cases too. The Weebill 3E has a smartphone app to control your gimbal. You can use the buttons on the screen, or what also a really cool feature, mirror your phone's gyroscope so the gimbal moves according to your phone movements. However, in this case you don't need such advanced functions. All you need is for the camera to turn around on the same path with the same speed repeatedly. For a clone trail effect, just walk around the camera or walk through in front of it while the camera follows your path. Then add some keyframes and masking during post-production to create the clone trails. I insert a freeze frame at each cutting point and create their paths adding keyframes. You can also do this in reverse, placing further stages of your movements in the scene. As you can see, using a traditional setup we can create this effect with a more natural focal length and shallow depth of field, but it also requires more editing, while with the X4 the Insta360 app creates this effect automatically. Simply shoot on a tripod, select the clone trail effect in ShotLab and let the AI do the rest. But if you need more control, you can also edit your 360 footage manually, as demonstrated in one of my previous tutorials. With a slightly different shooting method, you can feature clones in the same scene, making it look like you have several twins. The main difference in shooting compared to the previous case is that this time you'll need to take multiple shots, but it's still very easy. For a simple shadow clone effect, go to different points in the room or your outdoor scene and perform different activities. You can even change clothes between the takes to make it more interesting. Shoot with the same panning motion multiple times, ensuring to avoid overlapping between the different takes. Then put your videos on different layers in the timeline. Sync the camera movements and create masks to make your clones. I use a specific frame as a sync point, aligning the edge of the frame with this vertical line to ensure the directions remain consistent throughout the scene. This means all the takes will be synchronized to this frame, and the camera will point in the same direction at the same time during rotation. After syncing, draw masks around each clone and add keyframes to make them follow the subject as the camera rotates. Adding further layers and masks completes the effect. On the other hand, you can create similar effect with X4 and ShotLab. However, you won't be able to change clothes, since you need to record a continuous one-take shot, switching positions without stopping the recording. The app will then analyze your scene, track your subject, and create the effect automatically on your phone. After all, if you'd like to create spectacular camera effects with custom focal length, depth of field, and higher resolution using your traditional camera, even a budget-friendly gimbal like the Weebill 3E can be an excellent accessory. As you could see, you can achieve really cool effects created in camera without any need for further editing. And if you don't mind playing around with some quick masking in post, you can choose from several cloning effects. And of course, only your creativity is the limit. If you like these tips and tricks, please give a thumbs up, and for more creative content and tutorials, subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.